Turn to Luke chapter 16 with me this morning. And as you're turning there, I've got a couple definitions I want to give you. These are important definitions for my life. These were life-changing definitions for me, and I hope it'll have the same impact on you as it had on me. So let me give you if you don't know what these words are, I'm going to define them for you here. The first one is a cell phone. If you don't know what a cell phone is, I'm going to give you the definition now so everybody knows what that thing is. It is a device used for looking less alone when in public places by yourself. That is what a cell phone is. A foot. If you don't know what a foot is, it is a device used for finding Legos in the dark. And if you're a parent, you know that this is exactly what this feature is on your body. It is for finding Legos in the dark. These definitions just get better and better. A synonym. I always thought I knew what a synonym was until I saw this definition, and then it really came to light for me. A synonym is a word used in place of the one you cannot spell. And that is so true. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Is that true? Okay, yeah, that is what a synonym is. I don't know how to spell that word. So, canine, it was a dog. So there you go. A synonym is used for the word you cannot spell. A vegetarian is a Latin phrase, and the original meaning is really bad hunter. I do like this definition a lot. And this one, I will never see it the right way again. Clapping, the action of clapping. Repeatedly high-fiving yourself for somebody else's accomplishments. That's just good stuff right there. Those are really good definitions. And even though I feel like these are great definitions for these words, it can be disputed, I guess, that these might be the wrong definitions. It's possible. It's possible that these might not be the real definitions for these words. A definition reveals the specific details about something, whether it's a word or an object. You can have something defined. A muscle has definition. It's the specific details that define or that reveal a word or an object or something else. That's what a definition is. My questions this morning are simple ones. I'm going to ask three simple questions this morning, but the answers may take a little longer to determine. The questions will be right there for you, but the answers to those questions may take a little time to answer. Here's the three questions I want to ask this morning. Who are you? How would you be defined? And where do you get that definition? Those are the three questions I want to ask. Who are you? How would you be defined? And where do you get that definition from? In the book of Luke, we have a parable that's commonly misunderstood. And I do like to dig into these passages. The difficult passages, I love those because the Bible is not supposed to be difficult. God didn't write it so we had to decode this thing. God wrote it for us. Keep it in its context, and it's so much simpler than if we start digging in commentaries and stuff like that. Look at the context of the scripture and stay with it. Many people read too much into this parable. They try to spiritualize each and every single part of the parable and find out which character or picture represents themselves. That's what a lot of people do with this parable. Today I want to talk about the parable, and I want to reveal how Jesus defines the parable. So in Luke chapter 16, we'll start in verse 1. It says, he also said to his disciples, there was a certain rich man who had a steward. And an accusation was brought to him that this man was wasting his goods. So he called him and said to him, what is this I hear about you? Give an account of your stewardship, for you can no longer be steward. This rich man has just discovered that one of his employees has been swindling him. People have been telling me that you have been dishonest. So it's time to give an account. It's time to bring the accounts in because you are no longer going to be a steward. He tells him to gather the records together, bring them in, because you're about to be fired. This creates a little bit of a panic in the employee. Like, okay, I've been caught. I've been dishonest. I've been caught. So now I've got to bring the records in and give them to my boss, and tomorrow I'm not going to have a job. It's just over. This guy's about to lose his job, and he's not the kind of person who's willing to do manual labor. He needs to get a plan together because he doesn't want to work. This is not the kind of guy he is. So look at verse 3. Look what he does here. Then the steward said within himself, "What shall I do? For my master is taking the stewardship away from me. I cannot dig. I am ashamed to beg. I have resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses." This is the ultimate goal here. Look at his plan. He's been comfortable. The whole time he's been working for his boss, he's been comfortable. He's been taken care of by the master all this time. He's become accustomed to the good life. This guy's been taking care of me. I have everything going for me. Now I'm going to lose my job. Now he's going to have to get a real job. Now he's going to have to work, or he's going to end up begging. He says, I can't dig. I don't want to work. And also, I'm too ashamed to beg, so I need to come up with a plan. So he devises this plan to secure himself a place to live in the homes of those who owe his master money. All these people owe my master money, and I've got this plan, so they may receive me into their houses. I've got a plan. But he's got to move quickly because he's about to lose everything. Remember, bring the records in, you're fired. This is the idea. So he's got to move quickly. Look at verse 5 of Luke 16. So he called every one of his master's debtors to him and said to the first, "How much do you owe my master?" And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, "Take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, "How much do you owe?" So he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, "Take your bill and write 80. This guy is going out to those who owe his master money, and he's cutting their bills down to an affordable amount. "How much do you owe?" 100. "How about 50? Sound good?" "Yeah. 50 sounds good. I wish my bill collectors would call me." "How much do you owe?" "This amount." "You want to do half?" "Yeah." "Okay." This is what this guy is doing. He's going to those people that owe his master money. "How much do you owe?" 100. "You want to do 50? Call it good?" "Yes, I do." Next one, "I owe 100. You want to do 80 and call it good?" "Absolutely." So he's going around. This is a smart guy. This is a really smart guy. So he's changing everything down to an affordable amount for these people on his last day of work. He's using his last day on the job to make friends with the people who are most likely not the closest friend with his master. Remember, his master is the bill collector. I'm going to go make friends with all the people that owe my master money. Not only that, but he's also using his authority to collect less than their bill is for and just write off the rest. This is my job. I can do this. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, "Hey, how's 50% sound?" "Yes, sir." "Where do I sign? What do I do?" "Just write it for 50. We'll clear the bill. No problem." These people are given financial freedom. That's what this guy's doing. He's going around and giving these people financial freedom. You would think that this would make his master lose his mind when he finds out what his servant, what his employee has done. But ironically, it goes the other way. He doesn't lose his mind like you would have thought he would have done. Well, look at verse 8 of Luke 16. So the master commended the unjust steward because he had dealt shrewdly. For the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. The master commended the unjust steward for the job he did. Great job. Good. That was smooth. That was smart. Good job. When you read this parable, you're like, okay, something's wrong. Something's really wrong with this parable. He's impressed by the wisdom of the unjust steward. Like, I'm really, really impressed by you. All the people who once hid when the steward rang the doorbell now called him friend. Like, "Oh, he's coming. Shh, kids, be quiet. He's coming." Now, they love this guy. Now, everybody's like, "Yeah, that's the guy that we owed 100. He cut it down to 50. Yeah, we're tight. That's a good guy right there. Yeah, we like that guy. We like that guy." So the master finds out what he did. "You cheated me. You cheated me. You went out and made it. You cheated me. Good job." Good job. That's impressive. That's impressive. Now you're fired. What's going on with this parable? This parable just seems to go all the wrong directions. And this is the end of the parable, by the way. That's the whole story right there. That's the end of the parable. But the comments that Jesus gives following the parable, that's what throws people off. That's where it hits us a little bit wrong. His first statement was this: for the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. That was his first comment. He compliments worldly people. The sons of this world are more shrewd. They're smart. They're smart. They're more shrewd than in their generation than the sons of light. Then he follows that one up with this one in verse 9. And I say to you, make friends for yourself by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. These are Jesus' comments after the parable. At face value, it seems like Jesus is encouraging us to behave just like the unjust steward did. Good job. You know, people of the world, they're smarter in this area than even the sons of light. And I encourage you, make friends for yourself by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. Like, Jesus, do you know what the parable means? Because that doesn't seem like the right take home from that. It seems all wrong. Of course he knows what the parable. He's the one that told the parable. He knows what the parable means. He even commends the people of the world for their shrewdness. This parable is told with a different slant than all the other parables. You look at the other parables, the sower and the seed. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. You look at this parable, like, what went wrong? What went wrong with this parable? Something's really out of whack on this one. So to understand what's going on, we're going to have to keep it within its context. By the way, that's the secret all the time. You want to understand the Word of God, keep it within its context. So we're going to do that today. We're going to keep it within its context. And that's going to end up taking us all the way back to the beginning of chapter 15 if we want to keep this parable in its context. If we look at the first verse of chapter 15, we'll see the setting where this parable was told. So let's go back and look at the first verse of the previous chapter, Luke 15, verse 1. Then all the tax collectors and the sinners drew near to him to hear him. And the Pharisees and scribes complained, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. The Pharisees are judging Jesus because he's speaking with tax collectors and sinners. The Pharisees are judging Jesus because of what he's doing. So Jesus immediately starts teaching in parables. He throws out 3 parables in a row here: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the prodigal son. You're probably familiar with these parables. He throws out these parables first. And each one of these parables emphasize the importance of reaching the lost. He tells a story about a lost sheep. If you lost one sheep, wouldn't you leave your 99 sheep and go out and find the lost sheep? Go find that one sheep that's missing? Wouldn't you do that for yourself? Well, sure, you lost a sheep. You're going to go do that. I'm here to save the lost. I'm here. Why are you spending time with those lost people? Why are you spending time with the tax collectors and the sinners? They're who I came for. I came for people who were broken. I came for people who were lost in their sins, to redeem them. Then he tells the story of the lost coin. If you lost a coin, would you not search everywhere for that coin of great value? Wouldn't you go do anything to get that coin back? And when you got it back, wouldn't you celebrate the fact that you found that coin? That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. Then he tells the story of the prodigal son. A son that has wasted everything, gone the wrong way, and when he returns, the father says, you were dead and now you're alive. You were gone, now you're back. I'm excited that you were lost and now you're found. The whole picture of these 3 parables tells us that God came to redeem the lost. The Pharisees were judging Jesus for associating himself with people with broken reputations. How can you associate yourself with those people? Jesus then turns around to show them how much he loves these people, how much they mean to him. At the end of the three parables, the setting does not change, but the audience does. Everything changes. The set, except for the setting. Remember, this is where he's at. He's being judged by the Pharisees. I can't believe you're sitting with tax collectors and sinners. So he tells the three parables. I came to seek the lost. I came to seek the lost. I came to seek the lost. Then everything turns around. Pharisees are judging him for associating with the wrong people. Jesus then turns it around to show them how much these people mean to him, to love them. And then he changes the audience. He's talking to the Pharisees and the people with these three parables. And then the audience changes. Look at Luke 16 and verse 1, just the beginning of it. And also said to his disciples. That's the very first verse. Luke 16 and verse 1, it says, he also said to his disciples. The audience just changed. The setting's the same, audience has changed. This is where he tells the parable of the unjust steward. Now he's talking to the disciples. This is where he tells this parable. This unjust steward has just cut his master's profits down and secured a place for himself in the homes of his master's debtors. Good job. Good job. And his master says, that was awesome. You cheated me huge. Great job. Now you're fired. Get out. Get out. But he was impressed with this move. This is where Jesus, speaking to the disciples, says the sons of this world are more shrewd in their generation than the sons of light. And he also says, make friends for yourselves by unrighteous mammon, that when you fail, they may receive you into an everlasting home. This is where he makes these two statements. It almost sounds like Jesus is telling the disciples, be more like the people of the world. Well, the reason it sounds like that is because that's exactly what he's saying. Doesn't that hit you wrong? You need to be more like them. Since Jesus is never going to tell us to do something sinful or wrong, there must be something else he's pointing to here. There's key features of these people I wish you could adapt. I wish you could be more. He doesn't want us to go out there and live like the lost world lives. He doesn't want us to behave like that. So when he says, yeah, they're shrewder in their generation than even the sons of light. I'm impressed with this. He's not telling us to go out there and just forsake Christianity, forsake Christ, and just go out there and live it up. That's not what he's telling us to do. So he's telling us something else. He's pointing us something different. So let's break this picture down, keeping it within its context, keeping it in the context of the entire scene. Keep in mind, the judgment is on Jesus and the fact that he's reaching out to tax collectors and sinners. Keep that in your mind. The steward in this parable has turned his enemies into his friends. That's what he's doing. They all hate me. When I come to their door, they hide. They don't want to see me. So I want to make it so next time I come to their door, the door's wide open and they'll receive me in. They like me. I need to change everything. Even though it was for selfish gain, he showed a kindness to these people and he converted them over to friends. He did a good job with it. He took what his master had given him to be a good steward with, and he used it for the purpose of building relationships. He was smart. He was smart. God has given every single one of us blessings in our lives. Just stop and think about it for just a few seconds. You'll realize that in your own life. God has blessed every single one of us. He has given us all blessings. Use the things he has given you to invest in the lives of other people. Use them. Use those blessings to reach out to people. Remember, we are still in the context of reaching the lost. The context is still the same. Jesus is still pushing forth this lesson. They need to be reached. We need to reach them. If God has blessed you with wealth, by the way, there's nothing wrong with money. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. Money itself can be a good thing. God blessed Solomon with so much wealth. That doesn't make money bad. Money's a necessity. It's a necessity in life. I know, because if I said, give me all your money, you'd hesitate. I need that. That means it's a necessity. We do need that. But if God has blessed you with wealth, if that's what God has done, then use it for the glory of God. Thank God for the blessing and use it for the glory of God. Not just on frivolous things that are going to come and go, but use it for the glory of God. If God's giving you talents and abilities, then use them for furthering the ministry of God. Use the things that God has given you. The Master has given you blessings. Now use them for the Master. Don't miss this. There's nothing wrong with money itself. But how are you using it? How are you using it? If God's blessed you with it, then bless Him back. Bless Him back. Use it for the glory of God. Reach people. Reach people. Invest your life into the life of other people. The world's constantly reaching out to different age groups and targeting different demographics. Watch the news, look on Facebook, just pull up advertisements from stores. You'll see that they are targeting specific demographics. They are targeting these age groups. They are going after people, not because they care, but because they understand the importance of connecting. They are very shrewd in this way. They're very smart. They're very smart. We're going to need to connect to people. In order to keep the business going, we need to connect to people. We're going to have to target this age group or that age group if we want to do well business-wise. So they're smart. They're very smart. Jesus is teaching the disciples a very important lesson here. Such an important lesson. But then you can almost see Jesus, you can almost see Him turn back to the Pharisees at this point. He's talking to the disciples, and you can almost see Him now looking back at the Pharisees. And He's going to bring the whole thing home to them. Yeah, disciples, reach out to people. Use what the Master has given you and befriend people. Bring them in. Connect with people. Reach the lost. I'm complimenting the world because this is what they're doing. They're connecting with people. They're reaching out to people. It's not loving people, but they are drawing them in. I want you to be more like that. Now you Pharisees, let me go ahead and plug this in so you understand what the parable means for you. Let me bring home the main point to you guys. We'll look at Luke 6:14. Now the Pharisees, who were lovers of money, and also heard these things, and they derided Him, and He said to them, you are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your heart. For what is highly esteemed among men is an abomination in the sight of God. This is where Jesus brings it all home for the Pharisees. They're listening to Jesus talking to the disciples, but then the audience changes again. Then He looks over at the Pharisees and says, and you guys, I'm going to give you a different application. I want you to see the parable too, but I want you to get an application also. If they wanted to know where they fit into the parable, they needed to look no further, because Jesus took all the guesswork out for them. Hey, you guys, you. They were doing the same thing the unjust steward was doing. They were doing the exact same thing. They were making sure that they looked good in the eyes of all the people, but the Master knew their heart. Yeah, all those people are loving you. They love you. What's the Master think? You're fired. You're fired. Yeah, but I've got fan base now. But the Master knows you. You have a fan base but no job. Why? They're all wondering why you don't have a job. This is like the greatest bill collector of all time. Why doesn't he have a job? The Master knows the heart. I know this guy. You're going to lose your job. I'm going to take you down a little bit of a shocking path for a minute. Let's shake things up a little bit, because we do that every once in a while around here. Shake it up a little bit. I'm going to take you down a shocking path. The Pharisees lived for the prestige and the religious esteem that they held among the people. They loved that. They loved the fact that the people looked at them and like, wow, I wish I was as smart as this guy. I wish I was as knowledgeable about the Word of God as this guy. I wish I was like them. They loved the prestige. They loved the fact that the people looked up at them. But there was a day when Jesus pulled back the curtains on their hypocrisy in front of a large group of people. Remember, Jesus didn't mind shaking things up. So he in front of a large group of people, Jesus exposes them. Now brace yourself. The picture you have of Jesus just might change here. It just might change a little bit, so hold on. Here we go. Look at Matthew 23 in verse 14. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. Therefore you will receive greater condemnation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you travel land and sea to win one proselyte, and when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Everybody all right? Yeah, everybody's heart rate's doing okay? Everybody good? Yeah, Jesus said that. You mean Jesus, the one that holds the lamb and all the children gather around him and he loves, loves, loves? Yeah, that picture of Jesus that we have might have just changed. Yes, he does love us. Absolutely. But that the Son of God, God himself, says when you travel so far to win one person to Judaism, you travel long distances to bring one in. And when he is won, you make him twice as much a son of hell as yourselves. Ouch. A little bit. That's rough. This point was so important that he made it very sharp. He said it. He told these religious rulers, these Pharisees, you are ruining everything. With your religion, with your tradition, with your standards, what you put on people, you are wrong. You're hypocrites. You're hypocrites. This group was known for making long prayers and going long distances just to convert one to Judaism. But God saw their hearts. You're fakes. They might all love you. You enjoy the prestige. But the Master knows your heart. Master knows your heart. That's why he told them at the end of the parable, you are those who justify yourselves before men, but God knows your hearts. Yeah, that you look good in front of the people, but God knows your hearts. You look good in front of the crowds, but God sees the heart condition that you're trying to hide. You don't want them to see your hearts. Not a chance. No, I don't want the people to see what's going on in here. I want them to see the outward. I want them to love us. Yeah, but what if they were to see your hearts? So many times we feel that we're doing a great job of hiding things about ourselves, and sometimes others already see those things. They already know them. We may have a problem with another person, and what they did consumes our thoughts. Yeah, I've got a problem with so-and-so. Man, they really bother me. Every time I think about them, they just really bother me. But when we're around them, we display ourselves as if there is no problem at all. Anybody ever done that? Don't raise your hand. Anybody ever done that? That's hypocritical. That's hypocritical. We look good before them and others, but God knows our hearts. God knows your heart. We slowly become bitter and resentful about those people because we never took care of it. We just hold on to that. And the more we hold on to it, the more we find the need to vent. I've got to talk to somebody about them. They're really bugging me. Oh, they're bugging me. I don't like the way they do this or that or the other thing. I'm holding on to it. Eventually, you're going to need to let something out. You're going to need a vent. Now we have the potential of entering into the area of gossip. Oh, it's getting fun now. Now we open up the door to gossip and we begin to attack their character to somebody else. Boy, we're getting deep already. Last Sunday, I was watching the Cowboys and Giants game. We're current events here. I was watching. Anybody watch that game last Sunday? 2 of you. Okay, fantastic. The place is full of Cowboys fans. By the way, I'm not a Cowboys fan. I do like watching a good football game. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I do like to watch the game. So I was watching this game last week, and Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback, was running the ball for a first down. He instead of throwing it, he decides to run it. And during this play, he suffered a compound fracture and dislocation of his right ankle. And it was rough to watch. You know those things where body parts aren't supposed to do that. That's the kind of injury that he suffered. And now he's out for the season. The Cowboys quarterback's out for the season. And as upsetting as it was to watch someone break their ankle, I don't care who you are, I don't want to see that happen to anybody. As upsetting as it was to watch somebody break their ankle, it was not as upsetting as what happened the next day. I was really bothered when Monday rolled around. People were expressing how great it was to see him go down. Go on the internet, you can see it. People are just, some even said, praise God. Okay, now we're praising God that Dak Prescott broke his ankle. Prescott's absence is going to affect the Cowboys season. It is going to affect their season. This is why the non-Cowboys fans were celebrating. Because, well, their season's out because Prescott's out. And by the way, the Cowboys won the game, which was good for them. They still won the game. But what was bothering me was the reaction to what happened on Sunday. Now I want to bring it all to the reality of what happened on Sunday. A fellow man broke his ankle. A real person is suffering. Take it down to the basics. Leave the sports out of it. A real person broke his ankle. Not fractured, they just took it off. He just snapped the thing. A real person was in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. But people are celebrating this because of how it improves the way their team season's going to look. Oh good, we got the Cowboys out of the way, and they're just celebrating the fact that their team season is going to be better because the Cowboys season was worse. When we speak down about the character of another person, this is exactly what we're doing. That is what we are doing. We're tearing down the character of a person. And it makes us look better. It helps our season. People might even come to our side on this thing. Oh wow, they should never have done that to you. Check. I've got a fan. I've got somebody who's listening to my side of this now. And we're hurting the character of somebody else by talking about them. Just to better our season. And it's wrong. It's wrong. Look at Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 29. It says, let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. That's how we're supposed to be talking. Those are the words that are supposed to come out of our mouth. We may feel that we're somehow protecting ourselves or magnifying the downfalls or weaknesses of others, but we're actually exposing our own weakness when we do this. We justify ourselves before men, but God knows our hearts. God knows our hearts. We're seeking to be justified by the wrong person. When the day is over, the question is, am I justified? Is God pleased with me? Not everybody else. Not everybody else. We justify ourselves by the wrong people. When we're holding on to a secret sin in our life that no one else knows about, we may look good to everyone around us, but God knows the truth. Yes, everyone around you, man, they're glad to see you. Man, you're a good person. They all love you. And God's saying, what about that? What about what nobody sees? Yeah, you won favor with everybody around you, but I know your heart. I see the heart. That sin will eat you alive and it will change you. I promise you. Sin brings destruction. It will destroy you. Sin is not able to satisfy you for a long period of time at one level. It always takes you deeper. Eventually you'll get bored of this level of sin and you'll have to go deeper, or you will forsake the sin and get back to God. One or the other. One or the other. But you will continue to go down in greater sin if you stay with it. When Jesus was telling this parable of the unjust steward, he was delivering a power punch of an application. What a strong parable. What a strong application. Love people. Love people. Even when they're wrong, even when they've sinned. Love people. Use what God has given to you and reach out to them. What if they're tax collectors and sinners? Love them. Love them. I love this verse until somebody rubs me the wrong way. Then I don't like this verse. But I want to show you this verse, and it needs to be applied to all of us. Look at Matthew 5 and verse 44. But I say to you, look at the highlighted words. You want your feelings really hurt, let's go ahead and look at the highlighted words. But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Win people with the love and the character of Christ. Win them with the love and the character of Christ. Other than God, we know ourselves better than anybody else. We know the way we feel towards other people. You may know how you're feeling towards somebody right now. You might know it's not healthy, but you know. You know the way you feel. We know the secret sins that we're involved with. Maybe nobody else knows, but we know them. We know. We know how to speak of other people. We know how we do speak of other people when they're not around. We know. Maybe they don't know we talk about them like that, but we do. There's another person that knows too. The Master knows the heart. He knows your heart. We may be justified in the eyes of men, but God knows our hearts. He knows what's going on there. When someone goes down due to a spiritual broken ankle, do we silently cheer within ourselves? Or do we reach out and love, bless, do good, and pray in order to help them stand again? Because that's what God told us to do. That's what God told us to do. When we're brought face to face with our hidden sin, are we just thankful that no one else knows? Because I'm sure we are. But are we just thankful that no one else knows, or do we agree with God that it is a sin and we repent? God knows our hearts. At the beginning of this message, I asked 3 questions. 3 questions. Who are you? How would you be defined? And where do you get that definition? All 3 of these questions are important, but that last one carries them all. If you were defined as valuable and faithful, but you're given that definition by the mafia, it doesn't necessarily mean you're good. That's where you got the definition changes everything. It really doesn't help. If you're defined as crazy and out of touch, but you're given that definition by the atheistic crowd, it doesn't necessarily mean you're wrong. It all depends on who gave you the definition. But if you're defined as good and faithful and you're given that definition by God, that means everything. That means everything. Many times we are just justified by the wrong person. And we're happy to be, it feels good when people look at us in a good way. We all like that. But then when you stop and think about God, the way He looks at you, is He looking at you the same way? Does He look at you and say, I am so pleased with them? Sometimes we're just justified by the wrong crowd. Paul was cautious of this very thing when he wrote to the Corinthian church. Look at 1 Corinthians 4:1. Let a man so consider us as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Moreover, it is required in stewards that one be found faithful. But with me, it is a very small thing that I should be judged by you or by a human court. In fact, I do not even judge myself, for I know of nothing against myself. Yet I am justified by this, but He who judges me is Lord. At the end of the day, who gives me the definition? Human courts? I don't even care. You might not even like me, but at the end of the day, He who judges me is the Lord. And I want Him to be pleased. I want Him to look at me and say, now you got a fan. I do love you. I do like you. I like what I'm seeing here. I'm a fan of what I'm seeing. You want God to be the one who says that. If the world thinks you're wrong, but God says you're right, you're right. You're right. If the world says you're right and God says you're wrong, you're wrong. Who are you? How would you be defined? And where do you get that definition? I believe that when we stand before God one day, we all want to hear Him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful." We all want to hear that. I truly believe we really do want to hear God say that for our lives. But these words will not be heard based on what people say you were. And let us tell you about this guy, and then, oh wow, well done. Well done. They all like you. That's not the criteria. God knows your heart, and He's known your heart your whole life. He knows what's going on in there. I don't have a clue. Isn't that comforting? I said, you don't know what goes on in my heart. That can be comforting. Nobody knows about my sin. Oh, that feels good that nobody knows. Scratch that sentence out. Somebody knows about my sin. Who? God knows about your sin. Are you comfortable with that idea? Let's put one other person. Let's change the name. Just change the name. Pick any name. God knows about my sin. Let's scratch the name out. Matt knows about your sin. What did that do to the comfort level? Kay knows about your sin. Everybody, were you still good? No. Pastor knows about your sin. No, that's not good. God knows about your sin. I'm okay with that. What's going on? What's going on? Do you see what we're doing? It's tearing us down. It's tearing us down. We are justified in the eyes of other people. And as long as other people see us okay, we're all right. But the Master knows our hearts. Are we really okay with that? Are we really okay with that? Well, He's not going to tell anybody. No, He's not going around talking to people about your sin, but let me tell you something He does say. Be sure your sin will find you out. Your sin will change your character. Your sin will change everything about you. It will destroy you. It's the way of destruction. I'm letting you know. You're going to reveal what you're doing in secret. It will be made open. It's going to happen. Because sin is not going to be your friend, ever. It will take you as far as it can take you, and then it will leave you there exposed. And the whole world will see you for who you are. The Master sees our hearts. You might be justified in the eyes of men, but it's God who knows your heart. Make sure at the end of the day, you're not justified by the wrong person. I don't know what we're going through right now in our lives. I don't. Because if we're doing something wrong, I promise you we're not just getting on Facebook and saying, I just want the whole world to know what I'm into right now. It's displeasing to the Lord. I have a heart condition that's not good. I just want to go ahead and make a post. Nobody's doing that. Because we all want to be justified by anybody that sees us. But the question is, how do we stand when God looks at us? What's our heart condition? The sad thing about most people is that we are perfectly content being justified by the wrong person. And we need to stop. We need to stop. Look at Jesus' words to the Pharisees. Those were harsh words. But what He's trying to show us is the sharpness of hypocrisy. Yeah, you look good to all those people around you. But when you convert somebody to be just like you, you make them twice as much a son of hell as you are. That was rough. I'm sure they were not happy with Jesus that day. But if you look at what we're doing, is your behavior reflecting God's character? Or is it reflecting the character of who you were before you were saved? Is it reflecting the character of a lost world? Is it reflecting the character of what Satan would want you to do? Or is it reflecting light? Reach people. Take the things God has given you and reach out and invest your life in the life of other people. But be careful. Because when you do that, you might make a bunch of friends. You might have the whole world looking at you and say, they're so great. remember, in all your actions, everything you do from morning to night, every single day, God's got a front row seat to your heart. Is He happy? Is He happy with what He's saying? Don't be justified by the wrong person.